clear in that call that if you change anything on this, they're not gonna take it. So that's tantamount to voting no on the whole thing.
And frankly, we jammed it on the agenda to be at their behest.
I'm sorry?
We zoomed it through the process at their request because they were about ready to make the, to deal with Jenkins to help improve that corridor. So that's an important corridor. So even though I think we don't like the deal, I think the best thing we can do is take the deal, cross our fingers, and you've heard from Tracy and the city attorney, so I think you can be rest assured that this will definitely close. So it's affordable, it's not good, but that's an important spot that we don't need to see go dark. And I do think it's going to be hard to fill that hole. And the examples are the mall, and the examples are, look how long it took Mojo's to get started once Chili's closed down. There are other restaurants that are probing that corridor, that are talking with Mayor and his folks at the restaurant. So the last thing we want to see right now is a dark Chili's or a dark Ruby Tuesdays.
Yeah, I would say that is actually another point that I hadn't thought of, is if we let it go dark, you're actually hurting the mall, because then right now there aren't a lot of parcels available out there, and they have them, but if there's now more competition for that probably hurts them. And I also worry about, well, who goes in there, and it seems like the only restaurants doing well right now are the fast food restaurants, and I don't think Leesburg really needs more fast food restaurants. We're probably pretty well covered there. They do employ people. They have stayed open, and sadly, if they can get through this, I do think the national chains, not that I like it, but I think they will probably come out pretty strong on the other side, because it's the independents that have all gone out of business. So, they might be the only ones left standing. So I think there's a good chance if they can get through it, then they do, at least honor the lease, but who knows? So I don't like it, but I guess I'll support it.
Well, it's basically $140,000 between the reduced rent, the no rent over the 5.5 years. It's basically about $140,000. And I guess Al did just make my vote for me, because compared to what we did for the mall, again, trying to save that corridor and keep businesses, and I guess for me it's the issue of how they came about it. Just want to give them the boot.
And I think we start talking about Leesburg and the growth of Leesburg. We're saying 5 years, but there's a lot of activity happening around the mall with houses development that will help this business and the mall corridor grow. So I think as a commission and staff, we started talking about South 27. Young lady came in talking about development of South 27. We talk about Silver Lake. We talk about the mall investment. So for businesses to succeed, you have to have people moving to our city. People are now acquiring, looking at building homes in Leesburg. So I think you can't have one without the other. We can't lose $140,000 with one restaurant, put $1 million in the mall, and then we slow development in our city. So I think it's not a one or the other. I think we got to have a comprehensive plan for our city, and these are our high growth areas. The mall, Sunnyside, 27, Pixel, those are our growth areas, and those are where restaurants, they succeed. You look at the villages, when there are people there, it's easy for restaurants to succeed, and we want the mall to be successful. But on 441, we got to have lights on restaurants, because when people visit our city, no one wants to see a restaurant shut down. I think it's a comprehensive plan that we as a city have to look at. And so every agenda item, we have an issue that's connected to another issue. Even with the airport, these things make our city great. So I think for me, 140 is a tough pill to swallow, but I think we've kind of subsidized a lot of businesses by the airport, so we can say we got airport. So I don't think we pulled the plug out now. So I'm in support of, and I hate that someone came and said, this is what y'all got to do, or I'm going to walk out the door. But I think, as Fred's kind of alluded to, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And so I'm in support of moving forward. Hopefully, as the mall and area around the mall grows and develops, that this will be easier appeal, and maybe in 5 years we can start recouping some of the money that we're losing.
Are you prepared for this to become a practice with some of those businesses on 441? In other words, when Tuesday word gets out, then we hear from the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, well, I think this one, because we own this one, maybe a little different than some of the other ones.
Yeah, I would think the other ones probably are going to, that are struggling, are going to their landlord. They just don't happen to be us. I know friends I have that own commercial real estate, and I'm sure Commissioner Peterson probably knows better about this, that they're getting hit up pretty hard on rent abatements.
I tell every owner landlord to work with their, I thought we were just doing a moratorium. This proposal, I just wasn't clear on the reduced rent. I guess, how much is the reduced rent after the moratorium?
They're going from, we were scheduled to go to 5,300, and they'll go to zero from now until March.
I understand that.
And then they pick up 4,000. So you lose the whole freight from now till March, and then you go back up to 4,000 instead of 5,300.
Okay, and the reason I was asking, I guess, I think I know the answer now. I did not know the answer till this discussion. I was wondering why and how we own this, but I assume it had to do with I'm gonna guess an airport grant of some kind.
Yeah,
Okay.
Old airport property.
Okay, because where I was going with that is, now's not the time to sell it, but I was gonna say, we need to get rid of it. And this is killing our value, but that's irrelevant now, so I'm fine.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
I'm going to say yes, but I would like to warn the commission that you might want to come up with a program going forward for other businesses. Since I won't be here, I'm depending on you. Yes, Andy. Okay, public hearings and non-routine items. 6A. Would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce, ask you by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the ratification of the collective bargaining agreement with the Professional Firefighters of Leesburg, Local 2957, IAFF, AFL-CFO-CLC, and providing an effective date.
You have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have a question for the chief. Sorry, you got to come all the way up here. As he's coming up here, I will point out that while the headline number is 3%, the paramedics are actually getting 5 to 6%. So about a third of them are getting a significantly bigger bump. My question was just about this, and now I lost the page. This like shift time stuff that we're changing, how they can request to move things around, and I just want to make sure you're okay with all of that.
I'm okay with it. It's a shift trade. It's an industry standard.
Okay, all right. It was way beyond me, so I just want to make sure I'm okay with it. As is normal, I'm going to vote against this because I don't believe in the defined benefit pension, but that's just, otherwise it's all right, thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
No.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Okay, informational report, City Attorney.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager.
I have three items to run over with you real quick. First, on the COVID CARES package, had a lengthy conversation with Jeff Cole at the end of last week, the county manager, and today. The county looks like they will be getting some short-term financing to issue us a check for the 1.2 million approximately of CARES money that we will be getting. We are hopeful to get that check sometime by November 6th, so that's a good thing. With having said that, we have been working with IT for now the past couple of weeks to put together our CARES applications. I gave you guys a sample of that last week. We are targeting to get those up and out and on the website so that you can fill this out via the web electronically by the 28th. With that date being tentative, I should know Tuesday, we'll target 11/13 or November 13 to be the close date of the initial application period. And then myself, Dan Miller, and Ken will review the applications and we should be able to get the funds out. For category 1, 3, or 1, 2, and 4, we probably can get those out as soon as the applications come back in. 1 is the mall, so there's, that's an easy one to do. 2 is done by your assessed value, so we know where that's going to land. And 4 are the civic portions of that with the partnership, chamber, and CDC funding. So as soon as they get the applications in, we can get it out. Number 3 is the tricky one, the 400,000 for the 2 levels of businesses. That one is kind of the collect and then get back out. That'll take a little more time. But what I'd like to do get from you tonight is just some an authorization from the commission so that we can create a $1.2 million fund to start cutting checks. Again, I think that that's going to come back from the county. So there probably is a little exposure there, full disclosure, in case something blows up. But I think it's in our best interest to go ahead and transfer those funds and set up an account that will get reimbursed. And as soon as we get the county money, then that money goes right back in there. Had lengthy conversations again with Jeff and with Jennifer Barker from the county, and it's basically the support for the grant app is fill out the grant app. The city has the proof of cut the check, and then that's sent off to the state, and so we should be good. But I'd like to get that rolling as quick as possible. Between probably category number 1, category number 2, and category number 4, we'll have the bulk of the money spent before Thanksgiving, which is a relief to the county because we're trying to get this spent down by the end of the month. And those are all the high points.
Okay, just a quick question. The county has the money, I thought.
They don't have it yet. They're doing a short-term note for the balance of the 48 million. They're closing on that imminently, so Jeff thought they would have that money in hand here probably this week and then ready next week to cut the checks.
Okay, and secondly, just so I'm clear, because I'm getting a lot of questions on this, you're saying on Wednesday, the 28th, the applications will be available online?
Yes.
Okay.
At
12:01 a.m. And this is going to be a horse race. Everybody's.
Yeah, probably sooner than that. Sandy and Joanne Drury from the county will do a little brief 10-minute thing. So we'll get that up on the website. We'll have that connected to the city page. We'll describe how the process works. We'll get the word out. So hopefully there is a rush to the door and we get this money out quick. And again, it is first come, unless you're really category 1, 2, or 3, or I'm sorry, 1, 2, or 4. Right. Those monies were pretty specific on where they went. 4 is the rush to the door. So those typical businesses, if you don't own property in that downtown box, but you have a business, call my office, call Sandy Moore, call a commissioner. We can get you directed in the right way. Our hope is on Wednesday, we have it up on the website. Go to the website, click it, hit send, and then you'll hear back from us by probably the week of the 19th.
So only because people are going to ask, are you saying it'll be ready, what, 8 a.m. on Wednesday the 28th?
That's my goal.
Okay. Can they fill the form out prior to that, or that's the first time they will see the form?
That's the first time they'll see the form.
Okay.
We're treating all applications submitted in the first 2 weeks the same.
Yes.
So as long as they complete it in the first 2 weeks, it's all the same.
Now, okay, maybe I didn't understand that. I thought it was a first come, first serve, so I thought, okay, we're gonna divide it up. But maybe you can re-explain that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm as clear as I should be, and I don't think people calling me are as clear as they should be.
Okay, so there's $1.2 million that's being given to the city.
No, I understand that part. I'm referring to number 3.
Okay, let me do all the categories so everybody understands. Number 1 is the mall grant, $500,000. So that's earmarked to the mall. Number 2 is $250,000 earmarked to property owners in the downtown. There's $250,000 for that. So the downtown box is drawn, it's on the application, and we're gonna cut those checks based on if you own the property, if you're an affected business, and we're gonna pay out at 1.8 cents for every dollar of assessed value. So that's a limited amount, that's a defined amount. So those are the things, own property and you're an affected business. Category 4 was about, it's not exactly, it's 15,000 for the partnership, the chamber, and the CDC. And then category number 3 is the confusing one. So you allocated 400,000 of the 1.2 to be issued to qualifying businesses who were established in Leesburg, who are paid up in good standing as far as taxes, and who have a 2020 business tax receipt from the city of Leesburg. If you have those 3 things, you're in good standing, you have your business tax receipt, and you're an affected business, then you are eligible for A, $10,000 if you have 5 or more employees, or B, $5,000 if you have less than 5 employees. So divide those 2 up by $400,000, that's the number of grants that can go out.
Okay, so I think Dan and I have a different understanding of that.
So if $600,000 of applications came through in the first 2 weeks, all the applicants would get money. They wouldn't get the 10,000 and 5,000. It would be reduced pro rata based on the.
In the case that we have more applicants than money,
Which I think will be the case.
we'll come back to you and we'll have to readjust. I'm gonna say I don't know, because the county's been trying to give away this same money, and they hadn't been able to, and then they started reallocating it.
Right.
So knock on wood, between the first category 1, 2, and 4, I think we got that base covered. And I think the number of businesses in Leesburg affected, I think, I'm feeling fuzzy that we're okay. If we're in your situation, I'll be back. If not, then we'll hit first round, and then we'll be yelling like the county saying we still have money to spend. So it's to be determined.
Thank you both. I mean, you and Dan, for the clarification. I think myself and others were under the impression it was, just a horse race to, get that 10 or 5, and money was gone, dried up. And the other people at the end of the line get 0, but now you're saying it would be readjusted, so I think that's more fair.
If that's the case.
Okay,
Yep.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what we need tonight is a motion to transfer $1.2 million from the city to a fund account in the likelihood that the county will not be able to provide that money to us immediately. If they can, then this account will be put back into city funds, and none of it will be touched. Okay? Who would like to make that motion?
Make that motion. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not going to repeat it all. I'll make your motion.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
I'm abstaining, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Okay, did you have anything else, Mr.
2 more items.
Okay.
The update on Sleepy Hollow, Travis and Ashley Strange have been working. We're inching forward to the Big Ten coming to Leesburg in February and March. On Friday of last week, Travis, Ashley, and myself, we met via conference with the TDC. The TDC did recommend an adjustable level of TDC funds to go to Leesburg to help with the ball field improvements, $265,000 to $295,000. That will be before the Board of County Commissioners tomorrow to approve. So we'll know if we have county funding tomorrow. In the interim, the steps there from the Big Ten have been the coaches voted, the athletic directors have now voted. They voted in favor of Leesburg. The next stop is the medical folks from each school in the Big Ten want to review where it's at because of COVID. We're hoping to have their vote in shortly, and then we'll move into a contract phase. So if we're positive there, my hope is that by the first meeting in November, we'll have a Big Ten contract for you to approve. Until then, Travis is moving forward to prep and start doing the procurement to make the improvements. We're still at a phase where we can pull the plug, so that moves along well. The last thing, I want to get some input from you to get back with the owners. As you know, we voted and did a condemnation process on the Magnolia properties. The address escaped me. It's like 711 and 709 Magnolia. Fred started a condemnation process on that. Shortly after Fred filed the papers, the owner of that property contacted me. We've had a couple of meetings, and they have posed some options, and I want to get your feedback on how to move forward with these. The first option was they agreed to do our original deal, which was we'll buy the property for $250,000. Number two, they said we will give you not just those properties, but 2 more properties. It would be the Magnolia properties plus 114 North Chester, which is currently being leased, and 4 Lucerne, Lucerne is right over here, by the way. And this house is a pretty dilapidated house, very small, by today's standard, a substandard, even dwelling unit. So if they will sell us the lot for $275.
That's all inclusive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There may be some value in the other 2 parcels because I think you could probably, through code enforcement action, you could probably end up with one really nice property on Lucerne. And Lucerne has some potential as a really nice property if you can put together. And we do have some other code enforcement actions pending there. I think it'll be difficult to link all those together, but it may be worth thinking about. So there may be some value in the 275, option number 2. The third option is we stay on the same track, which is we have these properties under eminent domain. Fred's working on that case. Fred can probably speak for himself, but I think we feel good about it. And if we win that case, you end up maybe, now this is estimate, with acquiring the Magnolia properties for 175-ish. And that would be the estimated value plus a little bit more because you take the higher of the values. I'm condensing for Fred, and then legal fees. So option number 3, I think, is probably still something you want to consider, a little bit of a gamble there. And then option number 4 is something we haven't thought about, and if you want me to make a counter offer, like go back to them and say, we want the lot for $225 or something like, or we'll give you $200. So I just wanted to get some direction on how you'd like me to go back and negotiate.
I don't care about the addresses. The values were roughly about $50,000 per property, I recall, or per building. How many buildings are there?
I would say that the value, there's 4 buildings.
Okay.
And the Magnolia properties, our estimate it is 50. So that's 20, and there are 2 buildings and there are 2 duplexes, if you're so liberal to call them those. And those are each worth 50. The next property, the 114 North Chester, that had been under some code enforcement issues. They have taken care of those. They're pretty close to wrapping those up. There is a tenant that lives there. I would be interested in that parcel because it would probably be a good one for the housing program. It's got a fair market value. The property's been improved, and it's not in bad shape. I would probably, just a guess, that property is worth probably a little more than 50, maybe 75.
When you say Chester, it's on the pool property, it just faces Chester?
No.
Because all I care about tonight
No,
is the pool,
yeah,
the
yeah.
pool properties.
No, those are the Magnolia properties.
Okay, that's all I care about tonight. I
And
don't know about
Lucerne
the rest of it.
property, I don't think the Lucerne property is worth $5,000.
Okay.
You say $5,000?
So my focus is back to the Magnolia properties and the pool, and I mean, I remember the gentleman coming in here with these appraisals that were basically twice fair market value.
Same ones.
I guess my only reaction is, condemnation's a lose-lose. They kind of took us down this path of lose-lose. Now they've stepped back up. I don't know what we spent in legal fees since that, but to me, maybe their $250 offer less what we've spent today on legal fees, because I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're offered them $250. Now we're going to give them $250 after we've churned some legal fees that they're, due to them acting the way they've acted. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Well, I mean, I don't think we should have did a condemnation to begin with. I think it is a lose-lose. I kind of like Lutheran Circle, I think, because it's close to downtown. I think if a housing department could do something to fix them up really nice, market them to some professionals. I think it's on a little lake, so I think if it's done right, I think it's marketable, especially if you get the other one that's attached to it. I don't know if we can get all of them, but I think that can be a nice development if we. Now, I wouldn't put my money in it, but I think maybe a developer or the city can do something really nice on Lutheran Circle Market, being on the lake. If they're gonna give it to us, I don't know how much Fred would charge us for eminent domain, but I think if we look at apples to apples, I think because I'm big on putting people downtown to make downtown successful. And if you can put a nice marketable piece of property that's on the back of a little small lake, maybe you will get a professional who can get a nice house, nurse or someone in the medical field. We can market it that way, but I think if it's an opportunity for us to get those properties that's been on tax deed a few times. I actually looked at a couple of them a few times, but I think if the city could acquire them, make them really nice, I think we can market them to some professionals to help out downtown.
And I agree, and that's why I'm here, because I think there's a bunch of options, and that would be option number 2. And I think if you're interested in headed that way, then I would say give me authority to go back and negotiate option number 2, which is to buy all of them for the lot. Because the value in that deal is you get the Magnolia properties and you rid that blight. It makes it better for the pool. You end that whole saga, and you end up with 114 North Chester, which has value in that it's a good rental property now. So it's not a lot of money per month, but it's not a loss either. And then you do on Lucerne, you start prepping the deck for an area that's downtown. We've got some other properties in code enforcement there, and there's a nice little niche in there that through time, if we can, I'm not advocating that we condemn properties and take them, but let's be honest, there are code enforcement issues out there. So it's an actually nice area that if we could acquire other lots in there, great lots for CDC, great lots for Habitat, where you could actually have some really nice affordable housing homes in that area. It would, if we could collect probably 2 or 3 more lots in that little circle, I honestly think it's worth option number 2. That's why I want to have this discussion with you before I brought something like this to you, and you said I was crazy.
So they're throwing the other 2 properties in for an additional $25,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so how
And
much?
there is value in that.
I thought they wanted another $275 for
No,
those. That's why I was over here
two-
shaking my head.
Yeah. If we were at the auction, I think the auctioneer would say it's $275 for the lot.
Okay, you can see why I was a little,
Yeah.
tripped up over the other lots.
Is there any way that you can reduce off the legal fees so far and then give them the presentation of money that you'll go with?
What I'd ask you to do on that is tell me to do option number 2.
Okay.
And say, we'll give you $275, but you gotta take out our legal fees. I'll work up what that number is with Mr. Morrison and proffer that. But give me authority to have an ending date.
They are still getting
Option
top
number 2.
dollar for these, and I just feel like, they wronged us coming in here, and we turned
Exactly.
legal fees, and now, you just can't get the same number out of the city.
I'm hearing I don't need a motion, but I'm seeing heads nod for option number 2.
I will make a motion for option number 2 at 275, less Fred's legal fees subsequent to the gentleman.
Yeah, you guys, I don't need a motion, no, I don't need a vote on that.
Oh, okay.
It'll come back to you in contract, so, I need a direction on that, so I can go, and if you don't like it, you can vote no when it comes before you.
And just one last thing, can you deal with the tenants before the city gets acquire the property?
Yeah, and there's only one tenant to deal with. Ken already knows the tenant, so if we consummate this, we'll make sure we reach out.
Okay.
My
Hopefully
guess, if I'm the tenant, my guess is I'd much rather work with Ken.
I really don't want Ken to work with him. I just hope the owner would just do something for this, because once the city gets involved in, it becomes problematic. Channel
It
9
does.
News gets called, and John Christian name gets drugged through the mud, so, and we can eliminate it as best as possible.
We will.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, I appreciate that. That's all I
Okay.
have.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Just want to say on this weekend, we had an event statewide, Souls to the Polls, where our congregations, several in the city, took people to the polls to vote. I just want to commend our city. The library was clean, neat, and organized, and our staff provided a stage. And I just want to appreciate the staff for having a very nice event and for being very cooperative with the event. So I just want to commend your staff for just being highly professional. Once again, that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Speaking of the library, I think we all got an email about the library hours. I was wondering if you could give us an update on that.
Yeah, I need to get with Lucy on that, so let me defer, and I will follow up with an email.
Okay. And then with that, I would just encourage everyone to make sure you get out and vote. This weekend's the last weekend for early voting, and then the election will be over, and I think we'll all be happy for that. Thanks.
Commissioner Hurley?
Well, I look forward to February when we know who the president is. Think it'll take that long for the dust to settle. The only thing I had, Al, was speaking of getting our names dragged through the mud. I know we were successful at getting Silver Lake mowed again, but did you ever find out from Fred and look to see what we can go ahead and jump and put in place so that we don't always have to be 6 months behind the gun?
Yeah, let me follow up with you after the meeting on that. We're kind of still in that. Fred, do you want to answer that again? We're still in that phase where we've got the process, so we have to follow it. We've had some results from them. I know the residents don't see it, but typically before we issue that notice, we've had some good response from Hartman. He does have equipment out on the property, so I know the residents don't see it. They get antsy pretty quick, which is understandable. So Fred sent an email which basically said there's 2 ways to go. The way we got to tackle this is a procedural one where we have to issue them notice.
Well, the only reason I say it, I mean, listen, I understand nobody's gonna mow however many acres that is, every week, every month. But, with the residents that complained, I mean, I took my truck out there, and you know how big my truck is, and I'm driving just through what used to be fairways, and honest to God, I mean, there was grass out there 5.5 feet. So this whole, I mean, I get what they're saying. And it ain't like he mows, the 20 acres behind the resident's house, so there's a nice place, and there's some areas that are overgrown. I mean, it's the whole stinking thing. And so, and again, it's one of those things where a developer came in and promised the moon, and here we are stuck in the middle, and I hate that. I wish we hadn't have even done it, but we're here. And so I'm just wanting to see if now that it is annexed in the city, and it's our responsibility with code enforcement and all of our stuff to make sure we don't get to 6 foot tall grass before we can figure out something to do if we can.
Do you mind if I add on that, Commissioner?
No.
Yeah, and I think I agree 100%, and I think we need to probably kind of figure out some long-term solution with the developer on this, because the chatter I've heard is that the reason it hasn't developed is there's some environmental issues related to the treatment of the golf course, and the builders and developers have looked at it have walked away over that. Now, I don't know that, but I've heard it from a few people now. And, I think we were very clear. I remember the discussion bringing up, don't annex this in if you don't want to keep it mowed like a golf course, because the county has exempted you out. They said any golf course, abandoned before X date, which this fell under, you do not have to maintain. But if you bring it into the city, we don't have that, and you literally have to keep it mowed as if it was a golf course or someone's house, right? I mean, it's no different than a house downtown having 5-foot grass in their front yard. Same thing applies. And I don't know that that's realistic, like you said, but there's got to be a solution, and maybe we give a little bit on the idea that, no, you don't have to mow it like a golf course, but you do have to do something else, because my concern is that is going to be a long-term undeveloped property, and if it's so, we can't be playing this code enforcement game for the next 20 years, hoping something happens. So,
Do we have a nuisance ordinance, Fred, if we continue to go down the same path?
Well, we have two options. One is the old version of the mowing ordinance that says you can mow it and place a lien on it. The second one is highly procedural, involves notice and hearings and that sort of thing, and ultimately results in a special assessment on their tax bill every year for whatever it costs to maintain it. Those are the options you have right now. There is a nuisance ordinance, but it's geared toward other things besides overgrowth.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peterson?
I just want to recognize and thank Maria and the Center for the Arts for Beast Feast and the Art Festival this weekend. Nice to have some events. I was out of town. I missed them, but I know I read the good press on them, and I've heard some good talk about it. So thank you very much.
Mayor Dennison?
Just a reminder to please make sure you go out and vote. Also, we heard on the news today and through Chief Hicks that the Ocala police chief was killed yesterday, and I'd like to send our best to the family of this individual. It's always rough when you lose the police, just as rough as other organizations. I was going to mention Beast Feast and the Art Festival, so now we can wait for the Christmas parade, which I understand is back on again. So that's always a good event. And every year we seem to have a meeting that falls on Christmas week. Is everybody available to be at that meeting that Monday, or would you prefer it to be moved?
Didn't we preset the December meetings?
No, sir.
We didn't?
We're in a pandemic, so I'll be around.
Yeah.
I think we historically do what you're asking, don't we?
Right.
We come back and say, so you do have meetings scheduled for 14 and 28.
Okay.
What we'd like to do, if you would, if you go 14 and 21.
Well, that's what it's on now.
It's the second and third Mondays in December.
Oh, it is, it's, oh, we did.
Yeah,
we
it's
did
already on the
preset it.
21st.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
don't like
that's
the
by ordinance.
21st.
Yeah, it's already there.
Okay. I thought we had one for the 20, okay. I see, so we did what we did, but you didn't like what we did.
Well, the second and the
We're second and
second and
fourth, and
third.
we're second and third.
Okay,
That's for
all right. So
Okay, so we
anyway,
already did.
Is that a problem for any of the commissioners?
Check with
The
Dan and Jay,
21st.
They like to travel.
It's the second and third Mondays.
No,
Where
it's
the-
not a problem, or no,
where-
you won't be here?
It's not a
The
problem for
December
me.
meetings are 14 and 21. Monday the 14th and the 21st. It's the second and third instead of the second and fourth.
Okay, and because of COVID, I'm gonna be here too, so just wanted to make sure there wasn't gonna be a problem.
Got to check with Jay and Dan. That's who you got to check with. It ain't the travel. Jay still checking.
He's still checking.
Yeah, COVID doesn't slow me down, so I'll be gone, but if I'll try to adjust, and if I can't, then I'll zoom in.
You'll zoom in?
I'll be here in
Okay.
spirit or person, one of the two.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
We are adjourned, thank you.